All right, bottom line is if you don't like the weather, wait till tomorrow, it'll change. But for some of you, it may not be changing. Unfortunately, that's an old saying, and we may be stuck for a little while. Unfortunately, for some of you, that may mean more severe weather risk, more flooding, and that rain risk starts to change as we move through this week. In this video, we're going to look at the long-range pattern, which I think is going to really flip around as we head into June. So if you're wondering what's ahead, that's what we're going to talk about. As we head through the week, there are a couple players that I want to talk about. First of all, it's this upper low. This is going to impact a lot of people with a lot of weather, rain, gloomy temperatures. In fact, numbers will likely be well below normal underneath this. And then we're watching this, a pretty decent upper low spinning in the Gulf of Alaska and a decent ridge in response to that across the west. It is going to get really hot across the southwest. We're probably going to see records. There are already extreme heat watches out for the Central Valley for Friday. I mean, we're talking several days out. So it's going to get really hot out west. We're going to stay cool here in the east. And then we're going to see a pattern change. We're going to get really cool. After we've worked chilly this weekend, it's going to get cool again. For many of you in the east, across the west, blistering hot temperatures into the deserts, into the Central Valley of California. And I'm telling you, watch this weird upper low off the southwest coast. This may actually bring some rare precipitation into the far southwest heading into Sunday. So kind of a weird player that we're going to be watching this week. Another strange thing, it's not really crazy strange, but it's definitely an anomaly, and that's the cold air here in the east with temperatures well below average. Nothing we've not seen before. Don't be deceived when we start hearing these words, never seen before, below, craziness, I don't know, whatever you want to say. Either way, it's going to be cooler than normal and a little bit damp and a little bit gloomy. And as we start meteorological summer on June 1st, it doesn't mean we're going to flip the switch to summer, but usually you start to see your weather patterns shift at the 1st of June. It looks like this spring-like coolness holds on for at least a few more days into June. And then we look at this. I'm telling you, if this comes to pass, we could be looking at snow, not just into the Cascades, but maybe into the northern mountains of California. Let's wait and see how all this pans out. And then you start to see things change in the upper levels big time with a ridge developing across the southeast. You've got this huge trough digging into the west. And I think what's going to happen as we head into really the first week of June, around the 5th, 6th, 7th, you're just baking things here now with that super steep sun angle. Get some sun, get a lot of incoming solar radiation, and I'm telling you what, guys, it's going to get hot. It's going to get hot fast, and you can start to see this subtropical ridge build in the upper levels, surface high pressure building off the east coast, and it's going to really start to bake, I think, across the country as we head in toward the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. Your storm track now way to the north, and if anything, that might increase your severe risk, especially up along the U.S.-Canadian border. Still several days before we get there. Let's talk about the short term quickly. We'll take you through Tuesday. The highest risk for severe weather from Texas all the way into the southeast. You do have a 2 out of 5 risk of seeing some decent severe weather in the form of some thunderstorms. Some could contain hail, damaging winds, and especially back across parts of the Rio Grande, up into Texas, a few tornadoes can't be completely ruled out. Your day 3 risk mainly across southern Colorado, back into western Kansas, western Oklahoma, but really down here to New Mexico and West Texas, there could be some severe storms here. Showers and storms continue to fire up as we head into Monday. Again, these will be moving a little bit further to the east and into the south. More storms again firing across parts of New Mexico and especially here into South Texas, where back here, again, most of the wind shear is really high here, so that could be a risk for severe storms with showers pinwheeling around this low up across parts of Iowa into the Great Lakes with just, run-of-the-mill showers here, nothing crazy severe. But heading into Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, further south you go, you've got that risk of storms, and some of those may build a little bit further to the north, especially Wednesday and Thursday. And here comes our next piece of energy moving out of the Rockies as we head into Thursday. Temperatures cool heading into Tuesday afternoon, especially the further north you go, but hot here across South Texas. Some areas getting very close to 100 degrees. All right, a lot of cool air here into the mid-Atlantic. I'm showing you a different map here because I want to point out surface high pressure, keeping the northeast beautiful here. However, we're wedging that cool air down the east face of the mountains with this wedge type setup, overrunning moisture. You've got a stratiform rain as that isentropic lift happens here as it glides over top of that cooler air at the surface, and we're getting more of a steady rain here. That's going to continue to increase in coverage through the day Tuesday. By Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, rain pushing into D.C. We're raining in Pittsburgh, rain moving very close to Philadelphia, and we really start to see that push up the East Coast as we head into Wednesday, with steady rain moving now into New Jersey, New York City, into parts of southern New England, and then from Buffalo up to Watertown, and then moving northeast into Hartford, Boston, and then off the coast. This low looked like it was wanting to wrap up earlier in the week. I don't think it's going to, but look at the rain. That's the key to this forecast. Quite a bit of it too, through Thursday into Friday. And this, my friends, is when the pattern starts to really shift. Check this out. I don't know if you can see this, but you've got this cold air aloft back to the west that's building in from the northwest around surface low pressure, which continues to just kind of lift up to the north, just like this. So temperatures on the way down underneath this pocket of cold air. It's going to be chilly. It's going to be damp and miserable from Cincinnati down to Huntington, West Virginia, into southern West Virginia, southwest Virginia. And then that moves, it really starts to kind of get, I don't want to say eaten away, but it sort of meshes, I guess, with the upper level flow. And you start to see that wave sort of pick that up, and it changes. The weather pattern does start to shift heading into next week, but not before more rain moves back here into the mid-south and also into the southeast. However, again, I do think big changes will be on the way heading to the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and that means it starts to get hot. I think across the southeast, maybe even as far north as the Great Lakes, if you can pull some of that warm air north, which I think you will. But I also think the storm pattern sets up very active across the northern tier along the U.S.-Canadian border. And there's that cool air. Take a look at how this is showing up on the GFS for temperatures into the afternoon. You can see how that cool air is pushing all the way down into upstate of South Carolina, into northeast Georgia, and then you're cloudy and cold into the Ohio Valley. You've got sunshine into the northeast, so you're in the 70s, but that's going to be changing as you get the clouds. Temperatures as we head into Wednesday, barely getting out of the 40s into Pennsylvania and New York. You can see it. Look, check it out. There goes the cloudy weather, the cool weather into the northeast, and then here comes our next shot of cool air as we head into the weekend underneath that upper low. I told you guys it's going to spin right through the Ohio Valley into the mountains again. Kind of another miserable weekend on the way for a lot of the Appalachians into the southeast with temperatures below average. But that, again, that's going to change. So you might say enjoy it while it lasts. And across the west, this is looking way down the road. I want to show you this. But before we get to the snow into Northern California, we're going to get through some really hot weather this week. Temperatures as we head into Thursday and Friday are really going to climb here into the Central Valley with a lot of upper level ridging. Temperatures 105, 110, 115 maybe into some of the deserts. Really warm temperatures. And then that does start to change, and that breaks down as we head into Monday and Tuesday. That'd be the 2nd and the 3rd. And I'm telling you, maybe enough cold air aloft that we get some snow here into the Pacific Northwest. Don't know exactly if that's going to happen, but one thing's for sure, with this comes a lot of cooler weather, below average temperatures. Temperatures actually, look at this, below freezing into the mountains being modeled out. Still far away, but look at where things are as we head into Thursday. 105, 110 possible from the deserts. And then look, even warmer as we head into Saturday. There are already excessive heat watches out for parts of these areas into California, and it's no wonder. So a big pattern change on the way. You may like it, you may not, but it's the weather. What are you going to do about it, right? All right. See you guys next time.